Thank you very much, Ryan and everybody at Messari for this invitation. I spent the last couple of hours almost watching all of these panels on stable coins and crypto dollars. It was really enlightening. And as the last presentation for this this session, Explosion of Stable Coins, I'm going to talk about something a little bit more personal as somebody who's been involved in the creation of a stablecoin, Multi-Collateral Dai, as well as somebody who's been living with crypto and more recently DeFi for the last 5 years or so. Okay, so this talk is called The Need for Crypto Dollars in Emerging Markets. And my name is Mariano Conti. I am the head of smart contracts at the Maker Foundation. And a little bit about me, I've been working at the Maker Foundation in 2016, so this was even before releasing single collateral Dai. I helped a little bit releasing single and multi-collateral Dai. And as head of the smart contracts team, I have one of the most interesting jobs, in my opinion, because MCD is one of the largest and most complicated code bases running on Ethereum mainnet right now. And being able to, work on it and help extend it and help other projects take advantage of it, it's pretty much my dream job. And I was born in Argentina. I live here right now. I lived in Mexico for a while, and I moved back to Buenos Aires in 2011, just as one of the worst crises that we've had was starting, and got to live firsthand with capital controls, rampant inflation. And even though that stopped a few years ago, now it's coming back with a vengeance. I'm proud to say that I've never bought crypto with fiat in my life. I started in 2015 earning in Bitcoin and slowly moved on to different things. This was out of necessity in 2015. As a freelancer in Argentina, working for outside companies, there was no good way to bring dollars into the country without either heavy taxation or just, forbidden systems or going through many, many different hoops, which people often did. But they discovered that cryptocurrency was a great way to have, a universal borderless money that anybody could send. And so I started my journey there with Bitcoin 2015, and I discovered Ether in 2016. And being an engineer, this was my kind of thing, programmable money. And the best project I could find was Maker, which was adding something that to me I felt was missing from this token stability. I always say that on a very personal note, I'm always happy when somebody is saving in something other than Argentine pesos, be it whatever it can be. But there is a problem. A lot of people, you can hold and you can hold forever, and when prices go down, it's you can wait it out until prices are back up. But for people that they get their salaries in crypto and they need to pay for groceries or they need to pay, rent, oftentimes you cannot be a holder. The moment you receive something, you need to exchange it, or a couple of days later. And with the fluctuations in cryptocurrency, this becomes hard. And, what we call crypto dollars or stable coins, they track a universal, currency like dollars, which in our economies are very much sought after. And it gives you this, like the best of both worlds. So one of the things I like to say is that we often talk about the unbanked and they are a big part of the population, but it is not the only population that we target. Personally, I try to target people with money in lousy banks and economies. It's not difficult to be banked in emerging economies. It is difficult, however, to get access to better banks and better currencies and escape capital controls. Let me tell you a little bit about the economy in Argentina, what I live right now, and what 45 million of my countrymen and women live. These are very close markets. Capital controls are rampant. Right now, an individual cannot buy more than $200 per month at the legal exchange rate. And a few days ago, there was even more restrictions to this. You need to provide, and after doing that, you are banned for 90 days or so of transacting in other markets. They're very, very big parallel economies. These are, something we call caves, which are places where people trade dollars for pesos. A lot of the stuff we buy is dollarized, so our local currency keeps losing value, but things around us, they keep getting more and more expensive. It is very difficult to import and export, and when you can, there are very high fees. And of course, inflation, it's double digits, 55% or more. And it's difficult. It's difficult living here. One of the things people say is that you can never win. You can only try not to lose or to break even. And it is a vicious cycle that I believe things like blockchain can help us move out of. Just a little bit on inflation. And I know that this has been also a topic lately in the US, given that so many people think that the US dollar is going this route, and they say that it's not a good currency. I'll just say that, one man's garbage is another man's treasure. And if you look outside the US, not just in emerging economies, but almost anywhere that has US denominated debt, the US dollar is still a very, very strong currency worldwide. And for some, it is the safe haven. This is something I found online, like what you can buy with the $20 in Argentina. And I'm just going to go to this one, which I love. This is the Mortal Kombat $1 pyramid, and the tower. The bottom two currencies, the bottom two bills, this is Argentinian pesos. They don't exist anymore. They're worth so little that they got taken out of circulation. And $1 US in a period of 10 years has gone from being 5 pesos to 10 to 20 to 50 to 100, and now it's around 125, 130. So we only expect this to go up. Added to this, in places like Argentina and others, there are so many different values for US dollar depending on what you're trying to transact that people just get confused and they stop knowing what to do with them. We have, for example, the official dollar. We have the tourist dollar, savings dollar, the blue dollar, which is the one where cryptocurrencies mostly transact in. You have a wholesale dollar, and dollar for the industry. Depending on the industry, there's a different one. And with the government trying to take value out of industries as they can, it becomes less and less effective to transact in these ones. And people and economies and companies look for different alternatives. This is why I'm going to talk a little bit more about DAI, because this is, the project that I work actively every day, and it is the one I get paid in. But also because we've seen in the region that it became a crypto favorite in Argentina and in some other countries in Latin America. And there's a few reasons I can mention about why it became such a crypto favorite. I will say the first one is, of course, that DAI is pegged to a known unit of account, which is the US dollar. And there have been certain projects that, and even DAI originally, it tried to come out as a peg to a basket of currencies. But in the end, people around the world do not think in those baskets. They often think in US dollars. So just pegging it to the dollar makes a lot of sense. And it quickly became, the bedrock of decentralized finance. If you have DAI, that is a gateway into so many projects and new ones coming out every day. It's you can get access to sophisticated lending and savings accounts, and everything that makes a cryptocurrency valuable. DAI has that. It's uncensorable, transparent, and auditable. And the last two are some of the main ones. Well, let me talk first, gateway to DeFi. Like just today, an hour ago, for example, project DYDX started, spot markets with 3 different token pairs, right? And 2 of those involve DAI. You can go from the native Ether token to DAI, Ether to USDC, and DAI to USDC. And as you can see, USDC is also an incredibly popular crypto dollar in the Ethereum blockchain. And just as DAI, it has its benefits and sort of some of its cons, but I will discuss a few of those. And having DAI opens up a whole market of products, not just for people looking to leverage or margin trade, but people just looking, to access savings, which is, for me, one of the most important things around. And the most important, in my opinion, instantly auditable and transparent. This is something where I think that DAI stablecoin just blows everybody out of the water. If this is a website that I built for a hackathon and became popular, diets.com. If you go there, you will get data straight from the blockchain, no middlemen, giving you every single number you care about for how DAI is constructed. And you can see right now that even though the total supply is not that big compared to others, 130 million, you can see exactly what is going on under the hood. You can see that DAI is backed mostly by Ether, 90%, and it is backed by other tokens as well, which may or may not be have the same kind of decentralization as Ether has. The Maker protocol takes those risks into consideration. So you can see that 90% of it is backed by the most decentralized and resilient token that the Ethereum blockchain has, which is its native token Ether, but there is 7% of it backed by WBTC, which is a representation of Bitcoin on Ethereum. And even though that is custodial, 10 million DAI from WBTC is a risk that the Maker community feels comfortable taking. And you can see everything else, how much DAI can be created, what is the stability fees for it, how much tokens are backing it. And you can go to every single smart contract and look at this. You can see, this one is a little bit old, but it said that there's $400 million worth of Ether backing DAI, and also almost $2 million of BAT backing DAI. 14 million USDC backing DAI, and $25 million worth of BTC backing DAI. This kind of transparency, something that I believe gives DAI an edge and gives people holding it and transacting with it the guarantee that this is not a closed system. This is something that anybody can go in and audit. And of course, something that I always discuss, the fact that there are risks. And In the case of crypto dollars and DAI is included here, there are plenty. I always mention this because I think it is good to be upfront about this. But the other thing I always mention is that in emerging markets, often these DeFi risks, they're not even compared to having your actual currency locked up in a safe in a bank, or where it can and has been and will be probably again confiscated, as we've seen it's been done so many times. Let me go over a couple of these just because I always like to mention them. There's smart contract risk and oracle risk. There's black swan events that have happened before, like we saw on March 12th, and liquidity crunches. There can be whale collusion, stable coins getting out, breaking the peg, and a little bit, too much reliance on centralized assets. But let me give you an example. Like I said, 7% of DAI is backed by wrapped Bitcoin, for example. And this is a risk that MKR token holders are willing to take. But this is a risk that has very low chance of affecting DAI holders. There's MKR token holders that are backing this. And just as we saw 2 months ago, DAI token holders are not affected by this kind of risks. And so this is why the move that the foundation and the community did from single to multi-collateral DAI was one of the defining moments of decentralized finance, and why it's been so, how you can see that DAI is being adopted by so many protocols. Because you have a group of MKR holders managing risk, at the addition of non-correlated assets backing the DAI token. And if there are bad risk parameters that are voted in, it is MKR token holders that will lose, not necessarily DAI holders, right? And just the fact that you can see governance happening every day in Twitter and in forums or in chat makes DAI such a different stable coin from all the rest, right? And one of my unofficial jobs, because we do have people in the foundation and in the community, onboarding day to day in emerging markets, and but some of the stuff that I like to see is, onboarding new users is one of the main issues that we have today in crypto dollars and what we can do. And there are two things first that I think are needed. Abstracting technical complexities. You can start by not even talking about wallets and seeds and private keys. And the other one is abstracting maybe even the fact that you're using stablecoins. Just refer to everything in dollars, as I've seen a couple of wallets do, but always informing people of the risks that I mentioned. Facilitating on and off ramps. This is in Argentina. We have a couple of exchanges that are doing phenomenal work on this, and we see dozens, if not hundreds of people being onboarded every single day. And the main use case, in my opinion, right now for DAI in emerging economies is paying salaries. Then, if people want to go into crypto on their own and taking risks in volatile assets like Ether, Bitcoin, or others, they can do so, but they can be sure that at least their salary is not going to go up or down 20% in a day. And that gives peace of mind, especially in countries where people are looking for stability, right? I have a personal effort that I've been building. It's called DeFi 18N, which is a project to translate DeFi and wallets to many different languages. It is community built, licensed by Creative Commons, so anybody can use it. It's one of my personal goals to have DAI and stable coins and cryptocurrency adopted in many more places. And the fact that it can be so easy to offer these things in many different languages to people, I think it's gonna open up the doors for new users. And I'm gonna end this just saying that if you need tech-savvy users, I want you to look south. And when I say south, I mean Latin America, I mean Africa. I usually don't talk a lot about Africa because it's also not where I live and I'm not that informed, but everything that I read about, they are very similar to Latin America. They have a lot of users that would benefit from this technology. A lot of them are very tech savvy. And, just the fact that there's a whole bunch of people in emerging economies that you can help. And for me, stable coins are the perfect gateway for it. So I am going to end there. I think I had 20 minutes, but maybe I had 30. So if I'm not over time, and if people are still here and listening, I would love to take a couple of questions. What is the position? I see a couple. Position of the Argentinian government on DAI users like you. Do you fear crackdown? The answer is yes. There recently, a couple of weeks ago, and even a week ago, there are, of course, a lot of crackdown, not just for cryptocurrencies, but for buying dollars in general. This has always been the case. So it was nothing new. Every government, when it starts, it faces a crisis and limits access to dollars. I don't think I can say, and I'm not going to mention the avenues that people are taking to get access to dollars, but they are doing so. And every barrier that the government puts, people find a way to evade those. And my cypherpunk ethos tells me that is a good thing. What percentage of common everyday Argentinians know about Bitcoin, Ethereum, DAI? Well, in that order, that's Bitcoin is of course number one. It's been around the longest, and there is a big Bitcoin community in Argentina. It started out of necessity 2011, 2012 for the same reasons that I mentioned. Capital controls, no good access to dollars. Amount of technical, knowledge and leadership among Argentinians. There's a lot of good people and freelancers here that are sought after around the world, and the fact that they couldn't get paid and they started accepting Bitcoin. Ethereum, of course, I would say is number two. There are many projects here that started here. Open Zeppelin, Decentraland, Whitson, Maker has a good presence here, and then DAI. The foundation has taken a lot of effort in making DAI more well known to people here and in other places in Latin America, and they're succeeding. I will not say that I don't have an actual number, and I will say that we're still in a crypto bubble, right? It's not as well known as we would like, but hopefully that number is growing every day. Got one from Nick. Any particular reason you're not able to buy DAI via bank account on Oasis? Well, Oasis is a decentralized protocol, and the foundation provides a UI for it, but anybody can provide a UI for that, right? So I think there are two different things. The process of creating a fiat on-ramp, off-ramp, I think it's separate from providing. Even though I said that we should provide more on-ramps, I don't know if it would be for the Oasis team to do that. Nice. We're happy to help facilitate that as an ecosystem partner. Well, we can talk after this. In addition to Argentina, what other country you're seeing most crypto activity? Well, Venezuela has an incredible crypto activity, as well as Colombia, just because they're neighbors. There are a lot of Venezuelans moving over to Colombia. Brazil is huge and has a lot of potential, but also the language barrier has been complicated with Brazil. Brazilians usually I don't want to say they do their own thing, but it is often a little bit difficult for businesses in the rest of Latin America to be involved with the Brazilian businesses. But from what they are doing, and they're the biggest economy or second biggest in Latin America, the first in South America, they do have incredible adoption. And blockchain be the bridge for Pale Rails? Well, I hope so. Stablecoins, in fact, are, to me, the gateway to doing everything that blockchain promises, but with the volatility taken out. And for me, that's why it's probably the most interesting thing that anybody can work on at the moment. And I think my time is up. It's 4:50 my time, so I am going to say thank you very much for the invitation, and yeah, it was an honor here.
Thank you so much, Mariano. Really appreciate it.